Okay, continuing on with summertime, do a little bit more with it, and then decide what direction you want to go. So we've talked about a couple of different approaches to the improvisation, and the first thing we kind of talked about was just kind of doing a bluesy kind of thing, which works. And then we talked about making the changes, and we were basically using the chord tones from the chords in order to, we were using them as a vehicle for the improvisation. The E minor, we were using the notes from the E minor chord, and then for the B7, so on and so forth, as explained earlier. Now, another approach that is often taken with improvisation is using the scales. So that this would be like a scale-wise approach to the improvisation. And that's what we're going to look at today. So we're here on the 2nd fret of the D string, and we're just going to play through a natural E minor scale. We're going to play from the 2nd fret to the 4th fret to the 5th, go to the next string, 2nd, 4th, 5th, and then 3rd and 5th. So it'll be 2, 4, 5, 2, 4, 5, 3, 5. Just go ahead and memorize that scale. 2, 4, 5, 2, 4, 5, 3, 5. That's a natural E minor scale. Reason I say natural is I'm sure we've discussed it to some degree before. There are different kinds of minor scales, and right now we're just going to talk about the natural minor. So just get familiar with that. Even pause the video if you want and write that down. You could even tab it out if you want. The only time I'll tab now is maybe if is in the future, is if we're actually doing arrangements. Something simple like this, I think it might ultimately be easier for you just to tab that out because it's just a minor scale. It'd be a very small bit of a tab. Starting on, once again, the D string, the 4th string, 2, 4, 5, 2, 4, 5, and then 3, 5 on the B string. And just play through that. And just get comfortable with that, and then resume the video. So we have section A of the song, which, as we know, the first section is basically just that E minor to B7, and that happens 4 times for a total of 4 measures. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, so on and so forth. It would happen 2 more times. 1, 2, 3, 4. So what we're going to do is we're going to play some notes out of this scale and see how we can use that as an improvisational device in this song. So if we were to play this, for example, 1 and 2 and 3, stop there on that note and go back. So we'd have this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So that basically consumed those 4 measures. We started on the E note. Now, if you were to look at the names of the notes in that scale, E, F sharp, G, A, B, if we're just talking about the first 5. So as we're playing through that, when we're on the E minor chord, we're starting on the E, and that goes for 2 beats. 1 and 2 and. Now when we get to this B note, would be where we would switch to that B7 chord, and it just so happens we end up on that B note, and we're going backwards, so we're playing the B back to the A. Both of these notes are in a B7 chord. Then we have this, what we would call a passing tone, which means that note is not in the chord, but it's passing to a note that is, which is the F sharp. So we have a chord tone, a passing tone, and a chord tone. And that's what's happening when we play the B7 chord. So if you were to find one of the many recordings we've made of just this section of E to B7 to play along with, then you could count that in 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. So yeah, after playing that 4 times, it might get a little boring, sound a little redundant. But once again, remember the point we're trying to make. We're trying to show how we can approach the improvisation from a scale-wise point of view. And that's what we're trying to accomplish here. It also, once again, it gets you working on your technique a little bit, just playing maybe some more notes than you usually play, a longer string of notes. So I'll say the chords while I play that, and then you'll see where they switch. So it goes E minor, B, E minor, B, E minor, B, E minor, B. So I did that 4 times, so that would be our 4 measures. Okay, so you can see how that fits in. Now let's talk about as we're ascending. As we're ascending, we start on an E note, and then we go to this F sharp note, which would be a passing tone that takes us to this G note, which is a chord tone. Don't let that nomenclature confuse you. We either have chord tones when we're playing through the scale, or we have passing tones. The passing tones are simply the notes in between the chord tones. So we have a chord tone, a passing tone, a chord tone, a passing tone, and then another chord tone. So that's what's happening when you're ascending. You're playing a chord tone, a passing tone, which takes you to the next chord tone, and then a passing tone, which takes you to the next chord tone, which also happens to be where the song switches to the B7 chord. So at that point, we're on the B7 chord and we're going to descend. So we start with a chord tone, another chord tone. If we're playing the B7, you can see that note right there. And then this G note is a passing tone, which takes us to this F sharp, which is another chord tone. So we have 3 and 4 and. So there's the 2 beats that are on the B7 chord. Now we could also, if you want some variety, we can take and play these same 5 notes, and we can play them an octave higher rather easily. Once again, tab this out if you want. I'm going to start on the B string, the 5th fret, and I'm going to go 5, 7, 8, going to go up to the high E string, play the 5th fret, then the 7th fret, and then just back down. Okay, so then we have this. And all the same applications and explanations that we talked about down here would apply up here. We're playing the exact same 5 notes, just in a different octave. So for additional practice, once again, like I said, once you get this going, I would just find one of those videos where I laid down a bunch of E minor to B7s and practice that. And as you're playing it though, try not to make it mindless. Think about what you're doing. You're starting on a chord tone to a passing tone to a chord tone to a passing tone. Then you get to the, here is where it switches to the B7. And then it switches back to the E minor. So you can practice that also in both octaves. So if you wanted to mix it up, you could play it once here and then once here. Practice switching that position like this. And back. And that's going to sound perfectly fine with So let's put that in context of everything that we've been talking about. We initially started talking about just using the blues pattern. Okay? Then we talked about playing the chord tones. So in that case, it would be something like 1 and 2, 3 and 4. 1 and 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. And once you became thoroughly familiar with all of these ideas, you could combine them. You could start playing with the chord tone idea. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and that's where it would go and switch to the A minor at that point. Okay? So once again, find an area, find a video where you have plenty of E minor to B7 and practice the scale-wise motion in both octaves once you become familiar with it, and then practice mixing it up. You have the, the chord tone idea, so you could start with the blues idea. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Chord tone. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Scale-wise. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Chord tone, 1 and 2, 3 and 4. 1 and 2, 3 and 4. Blues, 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6. Not really 5 and 6. Should have gone back to 1 and 2. Okay? So then you can see that you have now 3 different approaches to playing over those 2 chords. The way that you make it interesting is to also keep in mind that it's not just about the notes, but it's about the rhythms that you use. Right now, I just introduced this scale-wise idea, just playing straight 8th notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, so on and so forth, okay? But you don't have to play a continuous stream of 8th notes if you don't want to. You can play 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. So when I get to that B note, which is where that B7 chord is, I'm just holding that B note for those 2 beats, for beats number 3 and 4. So I'm using some space there in that idea. And space is an important consideration when you're improvising. Very often when people watch somebody improvise or play a solo and they're playing this super, super fast, non-stop, rapid pace solo, that's pretty cool and it's mesmerizing and exciting. But if that's all somebody does, after a while it becomes like a one-trick pony, and you can grow tired of it. So the use of space is also an important consideration that a lot of good improvisers use. They'll play a note and they'll just let it ring. Let it ring for as long as they want. So let's review this. We're going to use as our device the natural E minor scale, which you're going to tab out if you need to, but I hope you can just memorize it. 2, 4, 5, 2, 4, 5, 3, 5. And there's that high E note that we ended on, and that would be the note if you wanted to take it up another octave that we discussed. Okay? The other thing to keep in mind, just as a side note, is if you learn this E minor scale, that because that's in position like that, that is movable. So if that's an E minor scale, and you memorize that fingering, then if you move it up one, then it's an F minor scale. Move it up again, it's an F sharp minor to a G minor. Okay, so on and so forth. And once again, guitar players like to practice and work on their technique. That's a good thing to practice, just to work on your left hand dexterity and your right hand dexterity and accuracy, and you can just play those ascending and descending up and down the neck. It's a really good thing to practice. Just give yourself a visual cue. So you see where that middle finger is? And second finger? So that would be where your first finger would start, to go up another half step, and then same again where that finger is. If you can visualize that, then the first finger jumps up again, and again, and again. Okay? So that's the way we will continue on with this. We'll talk about approaching the soloing from a scale-wise point of view, which is, once again, something that most guitar players use. Most guitar players use the three things that we've talked about. The blues idea, chord tones, very popular thing to employ in an improvisation, scale-wise movement, and there's a lot that springs off that scale-wise, but we'll take that through the entire song and before we expand on it. Okie dokie. Hope this is working out for you and you're finding it interesting and edifying and improving on your playing and understanding of music, and we'll just pick it up from there. Have a good one.